This is my review of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 15, and even though it's one of the ugliest Mercurials we've seen, it also might be one of the best. Now, to start off with the design of the boot, it's seen a complete makeover from the previous generation of the Mercurial. You of course have your air zoom cushioning unit in the forefoot of the boot for energy return, a lightweight Pebax outsole for spring and stability, tri-star and bladed studs for multi-direction traction, but on my pair I've actually had the sole converted, so I don't necessarily have all of that, a fly-knit tongue and collar area, a speed cage lining for adaptive support, and a new Vapor Plus upper. Now, when it actually comes to the graphic on the boot, I'm not a big fan at all. I think the large air graphic that we see on the instep is just completely ugly. They slightly improved it with the later colorways where you have the bigger swoosh on the forefoot, but like I'd say out of the colorways that we've seen of these boots, which aren't like special limited editions, the only kind of 3 or 2 that I like are maybe this launch colorway is okay, I guess. It's got this kind of iridescent shine to it, which I kind of like. The 007 Dream Speed, which is the red and orange one, and then the white, red and black one that came out within the last few months, end of last year I want to say. Now, when it comes to the comfort and feel of this boot, I would say this model of the Mercurial is very unique to previous generations in that it's much wider fitting than previous Mercurials. I wouldn't go as wide and say that this is for wide feet, but you know, it's kind of on wider feet than previous Mercurials have been. The general feel of the boot is very good. The upper hugs your foot quite well. It's not that kind of, you know, that Formula 1 race car strapped in lockdown sensation you get from previous Mercurials, but like the lockdown on this boot is still pretty good. Comfort overall is pretty good as well. The lining of the boot feels somewhat cushioned, and in the heel area you have this kind of like suede material with some kind of padding as well. The heel cup is actually a bit lower on these boots as opposed to like previous models, and I guess that's to kind of stop irritation and blisters forming. I actually suffered with blisters on the Vapor 13 and the Vapor 14, or Superfly 9 or whatever model it was, but yeah, I suffered with blisters in the kind of heel area with the previous 2 generations on the Mercurial. I've not experienced that so far with this one, so that's been an upgrade in that sense. And overall, I didn't really feel any kind of hot spots or stud pressure or any kind of areas of rotation while wearing the boot. And I'd go as far as to say this is probably the most comfortable Mercurial that I have worn since the Superfly 4. And in terms of sizing, I went true to size, my usual 9.5 UK, and I would say if you're looking to do the same, go true to size. There is a tiny bit of space in the toe area, but I wouldn't say it's anything to worry about from my perspective anyway. But yeah, my recommendation would be go true to size. And I also like to say the way my feet kind of are in nature is like I say they're between narrow and neutral, so bear that in mind when you're picking your size. Now, the outsole on this model of the Mercurial or Superfly, pretty much the same boot at this point, is completely different to the previous generation. So for the first time ever, Nike have introduced their Zoom Air technology into the Vapor/Superfly. It's not the first Mercurial to experience it, but it's the first time the Vapor/Superfly have used air zoom cushioning, and hence why they need to plaster air everywhere on the boot. Now, the Zoom Air cushioning is placed in the forefoot of the boot and is supposed to provide energy return. Now, for those who don't know what energy return is, it's basically, how would I say, it's like the kind of springiness of the outsole, I'd say. So like, yeah, how good of a spring is it? That's probably the best way. So, you know, if you kind of generate force in your forefoot, how much is given back to you? That's, yeah, so I hope that makes sense. Now, I'm not sure how effective the air cushioning unit is in my one because I bought these with the sole already converted, so I don't know if the conversions affected the outsole somewhat, but I still do feel some kind of, I want to say, when I actually take steps in this, I want to say spring, it's like it's a bouncy because of like that kind of cushioning you get. It's a more like a bouncy kind of step or feeling you get while you're running in these boots. But overall, it's still like very good. It's very responsive. You still get that kind of on your toes effect, which I really like in football boots. And from that kind of perspective, it does a very good job. Traction as well. Traction is very good, but again, sole conversion, but I've had no issues in terms of like slipping or sliding. I always feel stable, always feel very nimble, very responsive. So yeah, traction, you know, that's always going to be a strong point of a Mercurial. So no problems there either. Now, probably one of my favorite things about this boot is the feel for the ball. The Vapor Plus upper is very grippy, and I would go as far as to say this is probably like one of the grippiest uppers I've ever experienced on a Mercurial. And because of the kind of like maybe more padded sensation of like the, I don't know, the lining of the boot, you don't get that as much of a barefoot feel as with previous Mercurials, but it kind of makes up for how grippy it is. But apart from that, I'll still say that, you know, dribbling, shooting, passing in these boots still feels sensational. Typically, I'm a player who likes to dribble when there's space, and I like to sometimes take like intricate small touches. And I don't know, maybe it's placebo, but I feel like I was able to manipulate the ball a bit better in these. I wouldn't go as far to say like it's improved my control on the ball, but you definitely do notice that the grip on these is a lot better than with previous Mercurials. Now, durability wise, I've had no real issues with the boot, I would say. Yeah, I think they're holding up strong. I've used these quite a lot in my Saturday matches. No issues there really. But I would say this with the air zoom cushioning thing, it's just a general thing. I think over time it will go down if you use it. So like, you know, after, but I don't think it'll go down after like 3 or 4 games. But I think maybe like towards the end of the boot's life, the air zoom cushioning might be a bit deflated. But you know, that's like just normal wear and tear. So in terms of like durability, I have no issues whatsoever. When it comes to Nike Mercurial Vapor 15, I don't have much things to complain about. You get great feel for the ball, it's comfortable, it fits well, it's very responsive. I mean, I could go on and on, but like if I say maybe something that it could improve on, maybe just 2 things, and there is me being a bit picky. So number 1, maybe the lockdown could be slightly bit better. I think one of my favorite things about Mercurial models in general is just like that kind of strapped in feeling. You don't necessarily get that with this Mercurial, but it's still good lockdown in my opinion. And then the other thing is just like the upper graphic is, we need to do something about this. But overall, as like a performance tool, I would say this is up there with one of the best Mercurial models that I've ever used. And that's been my review of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 15. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more reviews on football boots or any kind of like football gear in general, please subscribe to the channel. Be sure to follow me on all my socials. They'll be in the description and on screen as well. And like always, my name is Sub, but this has been Substance Football. Thank you for watching. See you next time.